class, my dear children. Dear children, in the last class, we have started our discussion regarding the third chapter, that is fiber to fabric, isn't it? So, in the last classes, we have discussed about what? We have discussed about how the different types of fibers are made from different types of sources. Example, plant source and animal source. Okay, and in the last class we have discussed about how the extraction of wool is done from the animals. What are the different steps are involved? For example, shearing, scoring, okay, sorting and dyeing. So these are the four important processes are involved in the extraction of wool from the animals. Okay, that we have discussed. In today's session, let us discuss our next topic, that is silk. Silk. So, you all know about this one, silk fabrics. Silk fabrics are very famous nowadays, isn't it? And it is costly also. So, how the silk is obtained? That is very important, right? So, now we shall know about how the silk is extracted. Okay. So, silk is extracted from the silkworms. Okay. Silkworms. So, these silkworms will prepare the silk fibers. Okay. So, silk is extracted from the silkworms. So, we will rear the silkworms to obtain the silk. Is called as sericulture. Okay, I will write the sericulture definition later. So, silk. So, from which one we will obtain the silk? Through the silk fibers, silk is obtained. So, from whom, which process we will obtain the silk fibers? Silk fibers are obtained from the silkworms. Okay. So, the process of obtaining the silk from the silkworms. Okay. This is called as sericulture, or the process of rearing the silkworms. To obtain the silk fiber, what we have to do? We have to rear the silkworms. That is very important. Okay. So what? The processing of rearing the silkworms to obtain the silk is called as sericulture. Okay. So, I will write the definition. Sericulture. So, what is sericulture? The process of rearing the silkworms to obtain the silk is called as sericulture. So, the process of rearing silkworms, to obtain silk is called as sericulture. The process of rearing the silkworms to obtain the silk is called as sericulture. Understood? So, how does the silk is obtained from the silk fibers? Sorry, silkworms, that is very important, right? So, how does the silk is obtained from the silkworms? There is some process are involved in extracting the silk fibers from the silkworms. Before that, we should know about the life cycle of the silkworms. That is very important. Okay. First, we shall study about the life cycle of the silkworms. Then it is easy to understand the steps involved in the obtaining a silk. Okay. Let's study the life cycle of silkworms. Life cycle of silkworms. Okay. Now I will draw. which is showing the life cycle of the silkworms. Now I will explain how the life cycle of silkworm forms. Okay. So this is called female moth. Female moth. This is called caterpillar. Caterpillar. Okay. So these are called eggs. This is caterpillar. This is pupa. This is cocoon. Okay. Now I will explain you how the life cycle of the silkworms takes place. So this life cycle of silkworms is very important to study the extraction of silk fibers from the silkworms. Okay, children. First, the female moth lays the eggs. Okay, the female moth lays the eggs. So at a particular time, what happens? These eggs are broken or hatched into the caterpillar. Caterpillar is also called as silkworm. It is also called silkworm. I'll repeat once again. The female moth lays the eggs. So these laid eggs are hatched into the insect name called as silkworm. It is also called caterpillar. So these caterpillar enter into the next stage called as pupa. Okay, it will build the nest around it. Okay, so that is called pupa. So after some days, so this insect which is present in the pupa, starts secreting a certain kind of a protein which will move the head in right and left. In rotating the head, it will produce certain kind of protein. So that protein is built around it, and the insect is present inside, and the protein coat is present outside. So it makes an egg-like structure. Okay, that is called cocoon. Okay, so pupa is entered into the next stage called as cocoon. Here, so what happens? The insect will produces a kind of a thread-like structure called as a protein, so which covers around it. So insect is present inside, and protein coat which is present outside, that is called as a cocoon. So later this cocoon is again formed into the insect is present inside. So later this again formed into the moth. Like this, the life cycle is continuous. I'll repeat once again. So female moth lays the eggs. These eggs are later hatched into the silkworm. It is also called caterpillar. These caterpillar which eats the mulberry leaves. I will tell later what are mulberry, where it is available. Mulberry leaves. And later is formed to the next stage called pupa. The insect is present inside it. So later, so the insect will start producing a kind of protein which by stinging the egg on right and left side, it will produce a certain kind of proteins. So that protein is present outside the insect, and the insect is present inside. So that condition is called as cocoon. Later these cocoons are formed into the moths again. Again it will lays the eggs, again the caterpillar form, again the pupa will come, again the cocoon will come, and again the female moth will come. Like this the life cycle is go on continuous. So this is about the life cycle of the silkworms. Understood? So like this way, life cycle of the silkworm is very important in rearing the silkworms. Okay, to obtain the silk fiber, so silkworms are very important, right? First we should know how to rear the silkworms. That is very important, right? That's why we should know about a kind of cycle of the life cycle of the fibers. Silkworms are very important. That's why we study about the life cycle of the silkworms. Okay, children. Now let's study the few important things regarding the silkworms.
Here I'll show you the life cycle of the silkworm. In this picture you can easily understand the life cycle of the silkworm. This silkworm is consisting of the 4 important stages, that is very important. So this life cycle of the silkworm is carries as follows. See here. So here you can see the eggs. This is the larva. This is the cocoon. This is the pupa. And later it is develops into the silk moth. Okay. So once the eggs is laid, later the eggs are hatched into the what? They are hatched into the larva. It's also called caterpillar. So this caterpillar later develops into the stage called pupa first. Okay. Later it develops into the cocoon. So this cocoon later they develop into the a small insect that is called as the silk moth. Okay. This is the picture which is showing the life cycle of the silkworm. I'll repeat once again. So, life cycle of the silkworm is as follows. So, first the eggs are developed. Later they are formed into the larvas. Later they formed into the pupas. Later they formed into the protein-like structure called pupa. Later pupa is developed into the next structure called as silk moth. So you can now clearly you can see the life cycle of the silkworm. Now I will show some of the pictures regarding the different types of the silks. Okay, let's move to that one. Yes.
Dear students, now let's discuss about the important types of the silk. We know that the different types of silk sarees are present, isn't it? So when you observe in your home, your mom will use the different kinds of silks. So among them, which silk is most famous? So depending upon the types of silkworms also it is depend. Okay, there are varieties of silkworms are present. Among them, mulberry is very important one. Mulberry. Okay, mulberry silk is very, which is feeds on the mulberry leaves, which feeds on the mulberry leaves. Among them, the few more silk items are also there. Kosa silk, kosa, okay, and kosa, and then moga, okay, moga. These are the types of silks which are there. Okay, the different types of silks are there. So these are dependent upon the silkworms, types of silkworms. The varieties of silkworms are there. Among them, the very famous one is mulberry leaves. Mulberry silk. Mulberry silk is very expensive one. Very usually all are wearing this kind of silkworms only. That is mulberry silk. Mulberry silk is very famous as compared to the other type of tassar is also there. Tassar silk. Okay, so these are the different types of silks which are there. Among them, mulberry is very expensive one. It is most used one. That is mulberry silk, which is extracted from the. So these kind of insects which live on the which feeds on the mulberry leaves. Okay, they feeds on the mulberry leaves. Okay, I'll repeat once again. Life cycle of the silkworms is very important to rear the silkworms. Okay, so among them, life cycle involves the female will lays the eggs. Later, the eggs are hatched into the caterpillar. The caterpillar is later formed into the pupa. Later, pupa is cocoon. Later, cocoon is again formed into the moth. Okay. So later, next mulberry, there are types of silks are there. Among them, mulberry silk, tassar silk, kosa silk, and moga silk are the different types of silk. Among them, which one is very famous? Mulberry silk is very famous. In our next class, let us discuss about the how the silk is reared. How the silk is, what are the different types of steps what are the different steps are involved in processing of silk. How the silk is obtained. What are the different types of silks are they obtained from the different process that we will discuss in our next class. I hope you are understood the today's session, dear students. Go through the video once again. Okay, we will understand very well. In the next session, I will come up with the process of obtaining the silk. Okay, children, hope you understood the today's topic, right?